This is the LiberNovo Omni Chair production unit. These guys raised over $8.5 million on Kickstarter, which is nuts, and they have started shipping to many people in the United States, which is why I have my unit here. Here's the quick summary. The LiberNovo Omni Chair is so good that I think chair makers should be scared, because every time people talk about this chair, they're not comparing it with similarly priced products like the Steelcase Amiya or the Herman Miller Bantam. Instead, they're comparing it to the king of chairs, the Herman Miller Embody, and I agree with that sentiment. Let's get honest. Links to everything, including the Omni Chair, will be in the description, or you can use the QR code. If you're in the United States or Canada, LiberNovo has launched their website where you can purchase directly, but if you're outside of those regions, you still have to go through Kickstarter. Don't worry, my links and QR code will auto-direct you based on your region. If you use my link, I earn a small commission, which costs you nothing, but helps keep this channel going, and I appreciate your support. This video is not sponsored, but LiberNovo did sponsor a previous video where I checked out their pre-production unit, and I know that some people might think because of that I might be tainted or I'm biased. So because of that, I actually brought in 3 people who actually received their chairs and asked for their brutally honest opinions about the chair. More on that later. The gray one here is the pre-production unit, and the black one is the production unit. I'm gonna break down the chair starting from the bottom, working our way up, and I'll point out the major differences between the two in case you're curious. The casters on this chair roll really nicely on carpet and on hard floors, and the legs here are made out of plastic, but it's a really dense plastic, so I don't have any concerns there. And they're fairly wide and kind of flat, so if you're someone who likes to raise your feet up on top of them, you can do that without having your feet slip off every second. The footrest has not changed at all. On the bottom, you got a footrest pad here. It's just pretty cheap plastic. You got a lower level and then a slightly higher level, depending on what height you are. And then on the top, you got a super duper soft cushion. I love this cushion. And then it swivels just ever so slightly like this. And you can go ahead and rest your legs on it, or you can tilt back and it acts like a foot/leg rest. Feels really great if you are a leg rest or footrest user. I think you're really gonna like this thing because it offers that double duty feature. I personally am gonna use this thing a lot. Moving now to the right side of the chair, you get this mechanism here that has 2 tabs on it. The front one is actually gonna control the height, and it gets fairly high, about yay high. And then on the right side here, you're gonna have a second tab, and this is going to be a tilt limiter. So a tilt limiter, the difference between a tilt limiter and a tilt lock is that a tilt lock would be able to lock your chair in any tilted position, whereas a limiter is going to limit how far you can tilt back. So you see you got one position here, the next position is gonna be back here, the third position all the way back here, and the fourth position, and one of the best features about this chair is, oh yeah, that's good stuff. I personally prefer a tilt lock where it holds you in a tilted position, but a tilt limiter here makes a little bit more sense. But first, let me talk about the tilt mechanism, because it's not just the amount of tilt that's one of the best things about this chair, it's the way the chair tilts. On a lot of chairs, the way it would tilt is the back just kind of pivots backwards like this, but that's not the case here. Instead, this chair, when you tilt, it actually kind of scoops, the lower back kind of scoops up tiny bit into your lower back, and then the headrest here actually shrinks inwards into the spine mechanism there, so that basically when you tilt back, the chair continues to adapt to your spine's curve as you tilt back. It's really one of the best feeling tilts I've ever seen, especially because of the way that the spine part here actually kind of like curls and adapts to the way that your spine transforms as you lean back. This is an issue that I found on a lot of like racing style gaming chairs, especially when you try to adjust the lumbar support, it just kind of juts out, and then when you tilt back, because literally the back is just turning like this, the curves and the way that it hits things when you lean back changes. And if you have that lumbar support out and you try to tilt back, well, that lumbar actually feels like now it's hitting the middle of your back. It's super uncomfortable. So this thing is like seriously a game changer. But here's also something you need to understand about the tilt and why a tilt limiter makes sense over a tilt lock. You see, after about the halfway point, you're gonna go all the way back. There's no stopping it unless you have like abs made out of titanium. I don't, and I don't think a lot of people do either. So again, once you're about halfway back, there's no stopping it. Now, it's not like scary, it's a very controlled tilt back, but because you can't stop it for this entire range of motion, you can't lock it in any of those positions, because again, you really can't hold yourself there. Also, on the bottom right side, you're gonna get this knob here, and this is gonna control your tilt tension. This thing is really nice because it spins really easily, and with about 10 turns, you can really feel a difference in how much tilt tension there is in the chair. Before we move on, I cannot stress enough just how good this tilt is. Not only for the lounging mode, but remember how I said the headrest kind of moves in? Well, the area of your neck where you need support when you tilt back is different from where you sit up. And because this thing moves inwards, you don't have to touch the headrest at all when you're in a tilted position, except to maybe move it forward so you can look more forward when you're leaned back. And it's just so good. No other headrest does this except for one, which is the human scale freedom. On the left side is my favorite feature, which is a like and subscribe button. Using them tells the algorithm to push this video out to other people. And I'm only 898,000 subscribers away from 1 million, so pretty darn close. In all seriousness, on the left side, you have a removable battery. This thing is chargeable using USB-C, and it's gonna power the lumbar/stretch massage feature on this chair. More on that in a little bit. Moving now to the seat cushion, there are major changes here compared to the pre-production unit, so pay attention here, okay? So the first major change is going to be the type of fabric that's used on this chair. So a lot of people criticized on the pre-production unit the fabric on the chair. They said it looks cheap, it doesn't look great. I'm happy to report that the fabric on the production unit is actually significantly better than the pre-production unit. And I can say that this thing not only feels thicker, it's also more textured as well, and it just feels a lot higher quality, again, compared to the pre-production unit. This fabric is used on the seat as well as on the backrest. And just a quick note on the backrest fabric here, some people notice like, oh, like I see some like wrinkles already, it seems super cheap. And I will say like, I don't have any wrinkles here, but something that might happen is you might see some bunching of the fabric in some places, and that's because the fabric isn't actually like clinging onto the back from here, because the back, I don't know if you can see it that well, it actually curves inwards a little bit, and because of that, the fabric here isn't like stitched onto the foam there. Part of me thinks that if they did this, and then you kept pushing and stressing it, that it would actually stretch out the fabric more. I don't know, I'm not a pro here, this is just a guess, right? But I will say no wrinkles here, feels better, and if you've seen that, it's gonna be more bunching than wrinkling. Second major change is that the seat cushion, they have an option now to give you an extended one, so it comes out longer. One of my biggest criticisms about the pre-production unit was that the seat cushion wasn't long enough. It actually ended pretty short, and I'm a short guy, I'm 5'6", and even for me, it like ended pretty freaking early, but this thing has been extended. I think it's like 3 centimeters, which equates to like, I think it's like 1.5 inches. Sorry guys, I'm not in the metric system. Here's the thing though, when I'm sitting in this position, this thing is now making contact with the back of my leg, which is not great. And you can't adjust this seat pan at all, so it's here. So I actually kind of prefer the shorter one, but they sent the longer one here because I needed to see just how deep this thing was. And so you can see like it is making contact with the back of my cap, so something to note. But also, instead of making the actual frame seat deeper as well, they only extended the seat cushion. So there have been a lot of reports of people saying, hey, when I do like a single leg tuck like this, for some reason, I feel like my leg is gonna fall out, like it's gonna slide off. And the reason why, again, is because instead of making the seat frame deeper on the bottom, they just made the cushion deeper. Now this makes kind of sense because when you're sitting in a chair, the front part of your leg isn't like digging down into the cushion here, so you are getting like very minor support there. So if you want that, it's there. But I imagine if your deeper leg, like if your leg goes out to here, then it's gonna matter because at this front point, you're not getting really any support. Instead, it's all just kind of sagging downwards because again, that lack of a frame. And if you are a single or double leg tucker, you need to understand that nothing has really been remediated in terms of like the seat depth because again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but because there's no frame down here, it's just all cushion. Your legs feel like they're just kind of like on unsupported foam here like this. The next major change is that the seat cushion here has been changed compared to the pre-production unit. In the front edge here, you can still feel that it feels really, really soft like the pre-production unit, but the closer you get back here where your butt hits, the foam definitely feels firmer and more dense. And I think it's a good thing here overall because the number one criticism that people had when I brought in testers for the LiberNovo Omni was that the seat cushion was too soft. And so not only did it feel not as supportive compared to something like a Herman Miller Embody, but also they were worried that, you know, is that cushion gonna compress really quickly and flatten and you bottom out and feel the plastic because it was really, really squishy. I can say that this new cushion here, it's not firm by any means. It's still like soft to medium soft firmness, and it does feel a lot more supportive compared to the pre-production unit. But I will say personally, I miss that super duper soft cushion. I don't know, I just really liked it. Maybe it's just because I got like a baby's back and butt, but like it just felt really, really nice. I will say that the denser, firmer cushion though makes a trade-off in terms of heat retention. This chair does get hotter faster compared to the pre-production unit. Moving up now to the armrests. LiberNovo told me they were going to make the armrests a little more difficult to move out of position, and they delivered, but it's still pretty easy to move this armrest. I wish the tensions were a little bit tighter, but first let's talk about all the motions. This armrest can move up and down like so. It can move forward and back like this, and it can also swivel in all the way up to here and touch that, a little bit of love handle there, and then move out, and it can't swing outwards. It only gets to like the flat position, and that's it. And then you can move the armrest in and out by pulling it in towards you. 3 positions. If you get all the way in, I'm 165 pounds, and this thing is basically pinching my fat here, and so just that's how close it gets in. And then in terms of out position, that's as far as it gets over here. There are 3 buttons located on the inside of the left armrest, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But first, let me talk about the tension and easeability of movement. So in terms of the swivel here, you can feel a click and a little bit of tension every time you swivel in, but overall, it's still really loose. This forward and back is much better. It is more difficult to move it forward and back. It's got a satisfying click every time you go back as well. And then the in and out motion, this is, I think, has plenty of tension. It's actually quite difficult to move it in and out, even with one hand. So, and then here's what it looks like, because I know a lot of you guys do this. If I were to have this like in this kind of position and I were to jump up and kind of get in my chair, you can see that it's pretty easy to move out of position like that. When I pull into my desk, this thing is 26 inches high, and you can see that the armrest at the lowest setting fits under there perfectly. If you need the armrest higher up, the armrests do go far back enough that you can scooch all the way under your desk without the armrest banging into your tabletop. Moving up now to the backrest here. I think the cushion on the backrest versus the pre-production unit are exactly the same, but I do feel like the curvature on the production unit, especially in that lower back area, is a little bit more aggressive, just a tad bit more, and I kind of feel it. So like, if I'm sitting upright like this, I don't feel particularly great here. I do feel like I need to tilt back a tiny bit to relax that lower back area, whereas on the pre-production unit, it did feel like that lower back was a little bit more relaxed, a little less curved inwards, and it just felt slightly better. So a change that I'm not a huge fan of. Again, the same kind of cushion that's found on the seat. It does get warm fairly quickly. Same fabric that's used as well. One thing I do want to call out is that the spine back here, the plastic that's used back here, feels infinitely better compared to the pre-production unit. The pre-production unit did feel pretty terrible plastic quality, but this one does feel nicer. Now, I will say that on the black version, and this is for people who really care about like the types of color that's used, on the black version, this black plastic here, it's all matte plastic. So there's no gloss, there's no shininess to it. On the gray one, both on the pre-production unit and the production models, they're all shiny gray plastic. So that's something to keep in mind. If you don't like the idea of shiny gray plastic, then do not get that one and get with the black one here. Get with the black one? That was really weird. Get the black one, and because this is gonna be matte and it's gonna look a lot more sleek, especially when light hits it. One of the many reasons the LiberNovo Omni gets compared to an Embody is because the back looks similar, but not just that, it actually functions similar. And I would say the bend here is much nicer than on an Embody, because this thing moves like without any effort. It's really insane, because if you've ever kind of shifted positions like this, or you kind of have one arm up, or you're just kind of leaning towards one side, this thing literally feels like it's part of your back. It's really insane how nicely this thing moves with you, and it just like glues to your back. Also, this is just a quick note compared to an Embody here. The Embody has like really hard pins here because of the thinness of the fabric and the cushion that they use there. But on this right here, you're never gonna feel any of that, because again, it's cushioned really well up in these corners. You're never gonna feel anything digging into that upper part of your back. Feels really, really nice. One little aesthetic note is that on the production unit, you actually have LiberNovo branded on the backrest fabric here, whereas on the pre-production unit, there was nothing. Also down here on the lift mechanism here for the lumbar support, you also have LiberNovo branded here, whereas on the pre-production unit, there was nothing there. Now, speaking of the lumbar support, let's go into that next. So on the inside of the left arm here, you have 3 buttons. You have forward, back, and then this separate button here, which is auto mode. Now let's talk about it as a lumbar support. The same that was true about the pre-production unit is same here. That's weird. The same there, same here. Basically, as a motorized lumbar support, this thing is not that good, because the way that it comes in when you use the motorized lumbar support is that instead of coming straight in and out, this thing kind of bends and turns upwards a little bit, to the point where the curvature or the place that it's kind of pushing in is not at least for me, not my natural spine curvature point. I would need it a little bit lower, and I do wish this thing had height adjustment where you could raise it up or down a little bit, because then I feel like it would really fit in that my spine's natural curve a lot better. So again, as a motorized lumbar support, I don't love this thing. I don't think it curves in the right place, and I think it's kind of a missed opportunity. As a stretch/massage feature, I'm just gonna be totally honest. I would not count this as a massage feature. I would count it as a stretch feature. And the best way to describe the stretch here that it does for you is that imagine you're on a medicine ball and then you got your feet planted on the ground and you roll all the way back inside of the chair. That part of your back that it's stretching, that lower part and then that lower middle part, that's the area that this chair stretches with that motorized feature. And it's a part that for me on my body, like that part always feels fatigued, always feels like hurting. And so because of that, I just love the way this chair stretches me in that position, but I can see why a lot of people wouldn't, right? I don't know, I've always had a lot of back issues. I don't know, I've got like this back of like a 40-year-old man or something like that. I am almost 40. So yeah, that makes sense now. Although I had this back when I was like 20 something. So for me, it feels really good, but a lot of people noted that it's kind of gimmicky for them. This big button back here, as I was saying earlier, it's your auto mode. So the best way to use the stretch feature, by the way, is when you're tilted all the way back. You can manually set it by pushing forward and kind of having it all the way up or whatever position you want it in. Or you can hit the auto mode, which will give you 5 minutes of basically pushing in and out like this. And no, stop getting dirty thoughts. Basically, it's gonna slowly stretch you up and down a little bit over the course of 5 minutes, which is just a nice little breather to have in the middle of your workday. Again, at least it is for me. For me personally, I find that the natural curve of the backrest fits my back shape pretty well, so I'll never have it forward ever whenever I use this chair sitting upright. Moving up now to the headrest. This cushion is exactly the same as on the pre-production unit. It's soft, it feels great. The mechanism here feels amazing as well. So this thing is able to move up and down like this with some clicks. The clicks feel really satisfying, feel pretty tight as well. Then the headrest is able to swivel forward and back like this. And then what's amazing about this headrest, which I wish other headrests would do, is that there's a tab right here which allows you to bring that headrest in or out like this. And the reason why this is so important is because when you're sitting upright, so many headrests are so far back that you have to like double chin to reach it, kind of like this. But by bringing it in, you can actually have it in the position you want when you're sitting upright. I personally don't use a headrest when sitting upright, which is again why pushing it back is really nice, because then I can sit up and use the chair without ever having the headrest tickle the back of my head. Love it, I love that, right? But also the second reason why it's so great is because when you tilt back like this, a lot of times the position, here, let me show you actually. The position that you have your headrest in when you sit up is not gonna be the same position when you tilt back. Now, I talked about this earlier, but because of the way that the backrest actually, like the dynamic moving backrest, this headrest is actually gonna match the position that it needs to be in when you tilt back. But you're still not able to look forward in this position. Like in this, the natural, my head wants to stay here looking up there. If I want to turn this way, my neck is insanely strained right now. This actually really hurts. But if I can actually pull the headrest forward, tilt it down a bit, now I'm able to look forward at the screen, at whatever I'm looking at, play a game, whatever I want in this position, because the headrest has that ability to slide forward. Love it, love this headrest. Man, at this price point, there's so much that's amazing about this chair. I love the way they implemented this headrest. The one thing I am concerned about is going to be this headrest up and down functionality. On my pre-production model, this thing has loosened up so much that if you just touch it, it just kind of moves down. Now you can see that this is actually harder to move up and down here, but I am worried about whether this mechanism will loosen over time, so something to keep in mind. Maximum height is gonna be around 6'2", and that's being generous because the headrest does get up there, but the seat depth doesn't change, and if you feel like you need additional leg support, you might wanna go with something else. LiberNovo recommends a maximum weight in this chair of 300 pounds. I asked 3 complete strangers who received their Omnis for their thoughts on the chair. Here's what they had to say. I'm joined here by Yue. Yue, thank you so much for doing this and kind of giving your thoughts on it and proving to the world that you actually have your chair. So
I think I just lucked out that I'm close to Port of Long Beach and I get all of these things probably earlier than most.
Can you give me your height and weight? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask that at the beginning.
Yes, you know, what are you gonna give me to tell you my weight? That's a little personal there.
My bad.
Yeah, I'm 5'10", about 180. I'm also very torso-y, so
okay.
More personal information, my inseam is 30, so I don't have that much leg. I have a lot of torso, so
I love that. I love that. I love that you're so knowledgeable about yourself, dude. This is so helpful. I know people are gonna love this. Thank you so much for sharing all that information. I only asked for your weight, and you're just giving away everything. What chairs are you sitting in now? What's your experience with chairs in general?
I've worked in office spaces my entire life, so lots of Aerons. Right now, my main daily driver is a Embody. It's probably about 10 years old, very well broken in. Probably my favorite chair.
You're like the perfect person for this, because I know so many people have been asking like, Embody or Omni, Embody or Omni. And in the video that I did comparing the Embody and the Omni, so many people were saying, you know, this test doesn't make sense because it's not a long-term test, but you have literally 10 years in the Embody. So tell me, why do you love the Embody?
One of the things that people, you know, it seems to be consistent across everyone is no one's back fits anything perfectly. But this thing has fit my back absolutely perfectly. And if I want to move over here, the main thing about this is when I lean my back all the way up against it and put, kind of have a slight tilt to it, it forms perfectly to my back. It feels even in pressure points across all the way from the bottom to the top. No pressure points that are really harsh on my back or anything. So I absolutely love this chair. And, I can sit well, you can't see in the video, but I can sit cross-legged because there is, the main support has a solid fixed bar at the front. Armrests are kind of at the right position for my arms. I don't really need too much front to back adjustment, which this thing doesn't have. So it fits perfectly for me. I'm also not a big headrest user. I tend to kind of sit, honestly, when I'm working, most of the time my back is off the back. It's only when I lean back that I'm up against the backrest. So I'm not a big headrest user, so the lack of headrest doesn't actually bother me. This has been a perfect chair for me, and 10 years, it's really well broken in. It is pretty creaky, like when you go side to side, when you move around on it, it definitely sounds like something that's about 10 years old.
What do you think about the Omni? Like, what are your thoughts on it? I'll just kind of give you free reign.
The first thing I noticed was the cushion foam. It is so freaking comfortable. This is like the cushiest seat I think I've ever sat in.
On the seat cushion, yeah.
Yeah, the seat cushion and the headrest. Like, I want this headrest as an actual pillow for my bed. This stuff, I don't know what it's made out of, but it is amazing. So the first night, me and my family were actually taking turns lounging on this all the way back while watching a movie. And it feels amazing when you're in full recline and everything. The backrest actually, so different from the Embody, the backrest has some foam on it. So there is a little cushion, more so than the plasticky. You can definitely feel the plastic supports on the Embody, but here it's more cushion. So leaning back, relaxing, this was amazing. Where it kind of falls down for me is the seat depth, right? The main support, so even though the seat, and I measured this out, the seat is actually deeper than the Embody, but the support ends maybe an inch or two before the foam ends. So even if I can get my legs up here, it feels like I'm falling off the whole time because the foam pops forward. I think that's my biggest problem with this chair. It's not even just cross-legged. I always feel like I'm falling out of the chair. And my wife, who's 5'3", and let's call her 110, has this, even at that height, she kind of has the same problem. And I think it's because when you lean forward, like the geometry of this backrest tilt mechanism, it actually pushes the bottom of the backrest forward a little bit as you lean back. So whenever I'm leaning back, it feels like it's like pushing my butt and bottom end further forward. And it always feels like I'm kind of sliding forward and out of the chair because the foam does roll over and the back does push you out a little bit. Unlike the Embody, which the entire chair kind of tilts as one piece, right? I mean, it's pretty cool because the armrests on this actually go back with you. So it's pretty nice in that respect. But as far as the back piece, it does kind of push me out of the chair. I mean, other than that, the backrest also, I think because of that movement, I can't get it in as comfortable as a position. So say like, I completely put the headrest out of the equation. When I lean back, there is a pressure point at the bottom of my back, kind of at where the lowest part of the backrest is. And I don't get that like perfectly even back distribution. And that's probably just due to the shape of my back. I think some other commenters all say it's more comfortable than the Embody, but for me specifically, it's a little too, the bottom part is a little too forward for me. and there's no way to change that on this chair, right? So there's
that was one of the things with the lumbar support, with the motorized support. It really just kind of like moves, like swings up as opposed to like moving up and down or forward and back directly, which is something I would have loved to have seen, right? Just give you a little bit more flexibility on that. Okay.
That up and down movement would be great if like the main pressure point could be moved up and down, but how the swing arm works, it kind of pivots in one direction and one direction only.
Do you think like that curvature is probably the worst feature of the Omni for you, you think?
For me, yeah, that's probably the main point, right? And it just makes it uncomfortable for me. I think my wife is more okay with it, so this will probably end up being her chair. But everything else, there's some weirdness, right? If I say I'm fully elbows onto the armrest, if I lean back, it clicks with me. So there's not enough tension to stop the armrest from moving. In addition to the regular swing, the top moves back and forth as I lean back and forth. But again, you just lift your arms when you lean and it's no problem. So stuff like that I can get around. And one thing I did notice is different than the Embody, my back does get a little warm also.
On the Omni.
Yeah, on the Omni.
Oh, okay.
Because it does have that foam padding, right? And obviously the bottom too. It's kind of warm in Southern California right now. So I can definitely feel like, after an hour sitting in this chair, my back is noticeably warmer than when I'm sitting in the Embody.
A lot of people have been asking like, hey, I live in a warm climate. What does that feel like? Man, you are just nailing certain points that I know viewers are just like dying to know. So thank you so much for that. Did you get your perks, by the way, like your footrest and stuff?
I got the footrest, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a footrest user. So I'm not the best person to comment on this thing. Whoops.
See,
apparently I can't even assemble it correctly because that screw just fell out. But the one thing I did notice is this is a little cheap, right? It's a little plasticky on the bottom part. So I'm Asian. We don't wear shoes at home, so not the greatest. Yeah, I think there is a mat coming or something like that. So probably will be alleviated, but. Just as a base, like it seems more geared towards people who do wear shoes. I mean, this isn't the most comfortable material. And, the top does squish all the way once you get weight on it. So again, that's all I've noticed. And I'm not really a footrest user, so can't really say it's good or bad.
What do you think about the motorized lumbar support? Do you like it? Do you not use it at all? What do you think? Gimmicky?
So again, with how my back is shaped and how I get that pressure point at the very bottom, it's always bottomed out for me anyways, so I'm not really using the lumbar. And I think because of that shape also, when I use the massage function, right, it just puts a lot of pressure on my back.
Okay.
I think my wife was like mid about it, and my wife's little sister, I think she did feel that the whole massage up and down did feel kind of nice. So it seems like it's a, your mileage may vary type of thing. You're
not a big headrest user, but you talked about how you really like the foam on it. Any other comments on the headrest? Anything else you want to note?
No, it's great. Actually the back and forth movement feels really solid. Like I like the slider.
Right? Yeah.
It's really smooth. The latch feels good. Up and down, I haven't had issues with sticking or falling down too quickly. Someone on Reddit did ask, and I was super curious. So I measured about like 2.2, 2.3 kilograms of force to push it down one notch, which seems reasonable. That's a good amount of force to force it to go down. So all in all, no complaints. The headrest is very good.
Last question. The price has risen from this thing. I'm not sure, when did you back it? Do you mind if I ask?
I want to say it was like $1,400, so quite early.
Oh, pretty early. Okay.
Early bird, the $699.
Okay. So you got it for like $699. This thing is now like what, $896 or something? Basically right under $900. Do you think it's worth $900?
I would say to the right person, yes. If it fits your back well, I would say this is as good as an Embody for certain people. And for half the price of that new, I think the price is within range. I mean, if you compare other options in that range, like I would say this is probably one of the better ones still. But again, you kind of have to try it out, right? Like for me, this probably isn't the chair for me. But for someone where it does fit them correctly, I think that's a pretty okay price point. It's well in range of like a nice used Embody or Aeron. The one caveat, right, is it's a new company, warranty. If anything breaks, even you're out of warranty, getting replacement parts, right? That's still to be seen. That would honestly probably be my biggest detractor to buying it at a higher price point is like, you know, if this chair becomes useless in 3 years when the warranty runs out and you can't get a part for it, then it's not worth it anymore, right?
Carlo is 5'7", 200 pounds, and he currently owns the Secret Lab Omega chair. His thoughts on the LiberNovo Omni is that the chair is pretty comfy to sit in. I've tried a Herman Miller Embody and it feels similar to that. The recline feature is really great to sit in. The massage feature is relaxing to have when he's fully reclined. The biggest cons that he has about the chair is that the armrests get knocked out of position pretty easily. And he also said that for my legs, I could do with maybe 2 more inches of seat depth to be more comfortable when sitting upright. But I have a little longer femurs for someone his height, which I would say, yeah, his femurs must be super duper deep. He also says, I don't really see the need to have electronic lumbar support. I'm just gonna set it once where I like it. It might be good if you share the chair with multiple people, and the massage feature is nice to have, but he doesn't really see it as a necessity. He could see himself axing those things to make the chair a little bit cheaper compared to its current $900 price point. He says that overall, the chair is pretty comparable to a Herman Miller, so if you're looking for something similar, he thinks that it's worth the price point. And by the way, the Embody is his brother's chair, so it seems like he does get to sit on it fairly often. The Omega was a gift to him, which is, I think, why he was using it, but he said, yeah, compared to the Omega, this thing is definitely better. The LiberNovo Omni is definitely better. Florencia, she is 5'5", 110 pounds, and her husband is 5'8.5" and 130 pounds. These are very skinny people. I'm very jealous. Anyways, so she says she's 5'5", and she says the chair fits her perfectly. Her husband, who's 5'8.5", he says the chair fits him really well, and she says, I think the size is great for us, but people who are much taller and heavier might find it a bit small. She says that her favorite feature about the chair is the motorized function that helps her put her into a good posture, which is especially useful because they both work remotely. Their least favorite feature are the armrests. They said that it moves too easily, which can be a little uncomfortable because we have to readjust them every time we sit down. And she also said that over time, my husband experiences some hip discomfort with the LiberNovo Omni, which is something he does not experience in the Herman Miller Embody. They're actually sitting on a Herman Miller Embody, which they said they got from me in my review, so that's pretty cool. She gave me a quick comparison between the Omni and the Embody, and she says that they're very different. The Embody is all about classic design and mechanics, super reliable, built like a tank. The Omni, on the other hand, feels futuristic. It has this motorized support that adjusts as you move, and the recline with massage is something I didn't even know that I would enjoy as much as I do. Which one does she like more? She said this is the hard part. She honestly can't pick. The Embody feels timeless, like a high-end mechanical watch, while the Omni feels innovative and modern, like a smartwatch. She says she likes them both for different reasons, and I'm glad that I don't actually have to choose between them because she has both of them. She said that we were honestly amazed by the aesthetic of the LiberNovo Omni. It does look pretty cool. It looks so sleek in our space, but it's not just about looks, it's also super comfortable. It keeps my posture in check so I can sit for hours without feeling sore, which is huge because, again, she does work remotely. Overall, the chair really lives up to the high expectations I had for it, and she thinks that LiberNovo did an amazing job. Final thoughts. The LiberNovo Omni is now $900. If you got it at the beginning of the Kickstarter, you got it for like $600, and oh my God, that would have been the steal of the century because this thing is so much chair, it's so good for that price. Even at $900, this thing is pretty freaking amazing, and this is why all the chair companies should be scared. Herman Miller Vantum. Look, that thing, compared to this, looks like the biggest cash grab in the world. The seat cushion is terrible, the headrest is awful, the mechanisms and the plastic feel cheap. Compared to the LiberNovo Omni, like this thing just dominates the Vantum. The Steelcase Mia, $1,000 chair. I think the Mia is great. I think it's a great chair, but again, the build quality, the features on it, it's such a basic, simple chair that I'm just like, man, again, like, holy crap, this thing just eats that thing for breakfast. And then with Haworth, you have the Haworth Very, which is like an $800-900 chair. Again, a great chair, but in terms of functionality, features, cushion, it just isn't there compared to the LiberNovo Omni. And here's the thing, and I'm gonna get probably some flack for this because you guys know me. I love the idea of a 12-year warranty. I love those companies, Herman Miller, Haworth, and Steelcase because of their warranty and customer service policies. But here's the thing. If you buy one of those chairs, you're gonna be stuck with an okay, this is crazy, but an objectively worse chair for 12 years. That's what that means, right? So like, yes, it's got the 12-year policy, but you're gonna be stuck with an objectively worse chair for 12 years. Compared to the LiberNovo Omni here, they're giving you a 5-year warranty on the entire chair and a 2-year warranty on the motorized lumbar. But here's the thing, we don't have any kind of proof of concept or any kind of track record of how their customer service or how their warranty or the team behind it or whether or not they're gonna replace anything. Like, we don't have any of that information yet, which is still risky and something you should keep in mind. Links will be in the description and QR code. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think about the chair, and until next time, stay honest.